in the whole series of IGV webinars. This is about standard operation procedures, or what we call SOPs. So this is something that you might have heard about in your local chapters and conferences and all. We also covered this in the last conference in RYC. So probably this is something that you already heard about and something that you're already familiar about, but I'm here to clear any doubts when it comes to SOPs specifically and what kind of SOPs we need to be implementing in ISEC in India as a whole. And when we talk about SOPs, we talk about what are the steps and what are the actions and activities that we as IGV and ISEC in India need to be implementing at every step of the way. So before actually moving on and discovering what are the SOPs that we would be implementing and that we should be implementing, let's first discover what is an SOP, or what is a standard operating procedure. So opposite to what many people might believe, SOPs is not something that ISEC came up with. SOPs are something that is existing in many companies around the world, many organizations around the world, and it is simply the step-by-step instructions that any organization lays down to its workers and its employees in order for them to carry out complex routine operations, which means that okay, can you guys hear me well now, or is this breaking? What about now? Can you guys hear me? If my voice is breaking, it's probably your internet, guys.
Yes.
All right. So when it comes to the SOPs, like I was saying, it is a step-by-step instructions on how many operations need to be carried out on a daily basis. And the aim and the goal and the objective of having SOPs is actually to ensure efficiency inside the organization and ensure that if we are having many branches, which in ISEC are called LCs, and those branches are carrying out the same kind of operations, then we need to be having the same quality output out of all of them. So every single guys, if my voice is breaking, please check your internet, please. So it is to ensure that we are actually having the same quality output from all the LCs and all the chapters across ISEC in India, and that is something that is very important because it doesn't make sense for us to be running the same products in the same way, but at the end of the day, we are not achieving the same results, and even if we are achieving results, we are not achieving them in the same way. So for sure, there are going to be some things that need to be tweaked and changed here and there, depending on the local reality that you are living in, depending on your LC, depending on how you carry out operations on a daily basis, depending on your legacy, on your history. So a lot of factors go into the equation when we talk about the SOPs, but there are certain minimums that we need to be implementing as ISEC in India, with all the chapters that are existing in ISEC in India, so that we can make sure that all the operations that we are carrying out and all the operations that we are doing are being done in an efficient way. Please, guys, check your internet. There's nothing that I can do about it if my voice is breaking, because it doesn't make sense for some people to hear well and some people not to hear well. So if you're not hearing well, please check your internet. Probably if you're on Wi-Fi, try your data. If you're on data, try your Wi-Fi. If you're on your laptop, try your phone. If you're on your phone, try your laptop. Change your... I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. Change the platform by which you are connected or something like that. Yeah. All right. So you guys are familiar, I hope, with the customer flow, and you know exactly what the customer flow is and what are the stages and the different stages that are there on the customer flow. But I'm just gonna go over it very quickly. So the customer flow is basically what are all the stages and all the steps that our customers go through from the moment they know about ISEC and from the moment they are introduced to ISEC until the moment they actually go into their experience and finish their experience and get a satisfying experience out of ISEC. So all those stages and all those steps are called the customer flow, which is basically the journey that our customers go through when experiencing ISEC products. So SOPs are there to complement the customer flow. So we cannot just say we have a customer flow and we are implementing it without knowing exactly what are the steps and what are the activities that we are actually implementing and doing at every single stage of that customer flow itself. So as you know, there are many stages when it comes to the customer flow. There are 5 stages to be very exact. The first one is attraction, then consideration, then EPs go through preparation, and then they go through the experience, and then post-experience. And through all those stages, guys, so in all those stages, we need to be able to know what are exactly the different steps that we need to implement to be implemented. So this is what I'm going to be presenting today is basically the SOP for members, which means what are the steps and the activities that our members and our team leaders need to be implementing on the local level so that we can actually make sure that our operations are carried out in the best way possible. So when it comes to attraction, and we try to actually make it very simple and make it break it down to very simple steps that everyone and anyone can follow. And more than that, we try to come up with deadlines for every single step that we're having so that people know exactly what are not only what are the steps that they need to be following, but when should those steps be followed. And that is one way to ensure that we're having a very quick process time, which is something that is very important for our operations if we want other MCs and other LCs from all around the world to start working with us, because that is something that they check. Because obviously they want their EPs to be approved very quickly, and they want a very quick process in which they don't spend much time. So SOPs are one of the tools that actually ensures that we are having a very quick process time. But more than that, it also ensures conversions because, like I said, if we are carrying out the same kinds of operations all over India, and if we are following the same steps for all those operations, then we can actually make sure that our conversions are as high as possible and that we are not losing any customers across the customer flow itself. So when it comes to attraction specifically, the first step is checking applicants on Expo every 2 hours. And that is something that needs to be reflected in with every IGV member. The fact that Expo needs to be something that you check more than you check social media, because you never know when applicants are gonna come, and you never know when people are gonna be attracted by your opportunities and start applying to your projects. But the thing that we need to keep in mind is that just because someone applies to your project doesn't mean that they're 100% interested in your project. They probably apply to a lot of other projects, not only in India, but across the world. And if you're not quick enough in catching them and tapping into them, then those EPs are probably going to go to other projects in other entities. And you don't want that. So make sure that you are constantly checking Expo and making sure that whenever someone applies, you contact them as soon as possible, and you contact them on the spot to make sure that you are not only the first one to contact them and show that you have an efficient process and you actually care about whoever is applying to your projects, but trust me, whoever is the quickest in tapping into those applicants is the one who gets more approvals. As simple as that. Second thing is constant communication with NCC partners, and this is something that for sure has been flown down by your team leaders and your vice presidents. What are the LCs that you guys are working with on the global level, and that are considered your IR partners? So make sure that you are in contact with at least 1 or 2 people from those LCs, so that whenever an EP applies from those specific partners, you have someone there that can carry out the process with you, and you have someone who can actually push for the process from their side also, so that it doesn't become just a one-sided push, but the EP has two people pushing in to go through the process, which makes the process much more efficient and much faster. When it comes to consideration, so the EP, once they apply, that's when the consideration process starts. So once the EP applies, you need to contact them and contact the EP manager within 2 hours. Again, that is to ensure a very fast process time. Second thing is you need to schedule an interview within 24 hours of their application. But if the EP is not available for the interview for whatever reason that they gave you, then probably you can ask for a video submission from their side, in which you give them very specific questions that you want them to answer in the video, and that will make you gain a lot of time, because if they don't have time for the interview, then there is no point of delay in the process. But you can just ask them to submit a video, and probably this can work for your for your selection process. Third step is the selection criteria and results, and this should come within 2 hours of their interview. So don't think that if you are delaying the results of the interview itself, that the EP is going to be more interested or whatever. That it doesn't work that way. Try to give them the results as soon as possible. As soon as you know if the EP is accepted or rejected, you give them the results, and you send an email, you send a chat on WhatsApp, so that you can let them know that they are either accepted or rejected for this specific project. And then you send them an acceptance email, and you change your status on Expa. And in the acceptance email, you ensure that you mention that the EP needs to be paying the home entity like the exchange fees, and they need to be filling their LDA and all of that within 48 hours. So probably you will have some EPs who cannot pay in 48 hours, which is fine. If they have a valid reason not to do that, if they need to, if they don't have the money and they need to, let's say, ask their parents, if they have whatever issues or urgencies and they cannot actually pay in time, that is fine. But make sure that you are actually communicating this expectation to both the EP and EP managers whenever an EP is accepted. So once the EP is accepted, you send them an email and you send them a chat to both them and the EP manager, and you let them know that they have 48 hours to actually pay the exchange fees, which is the next step, home entity payments and LDA deadline within 48 hours. The next step is constant follow-up with EP and EP manager every 12 hours. Why? Because a lot of entities around the world will not follow up with their EPs efficiently if you don't actually remind them every time that they have an accepted EP with you and that they need to be pushing for payment and LDA and all of that. So probably that's something that you need to be pushing for also. And the last step when it comes to the next step when it comes to consideration is sending them an email for approval. Make it very attractive, make it very festive in a way. So you send them an email saying that they are approved, and then you change their status on Expa within 2 hours maximum. All right. So the next steps in the members SOP. Give me a second. It's showing. Yeah. So next is the preparation stage, and the preparation stage is one that is very crucial. If you want to make sure that our EPs have the right expectations about what the project is about, right expectations about the city, about the country, like any kind of expectation that you want to set with your EPs, it happens in this stage specifically. So the first thing is you need to be sending them an ISOC invitation letter within 24 hours. So that is not something complicated to do. You send the invitation letter, and for them to actually start the visa process, because most of the EPs will need this document for the visa process. So you send them this invitation letter within 24 hours of their approval without even them asking for it. So don't wait for EPs to ask for it for you to actually send it. But as soon as they are approved, you prepare their invitation letter and you send it to them by email. And then you check the documents needed for the EP's visa, and you provide those visa-related documents within 10 days. So these two steps, they go hand in hand. So for different countries, we have different kind of visas, and for different countries, their embassies will ask for different kinds of documents, and you need to be aware about that. So probably make your research on the internet, ask the EP to call the embassy and ask. but you need to lay down and know what are the different kind of documents that the EPs will need for their visa. And within 10 days, you need to be providing those visa documents, because you want the EP to actually get their visa as soon as possible, and you don't want to delay this process, because usually that's when EPs start dropping out. And if you are making sure that you are providing them with the right support at this point of time, then there is no way that they're going to back out. So the next step is follow up with EP and AP manager about how the visa process is going, if they bought their flight tickets or not, when will they be arriving, like all of those details. Make sure that you follow up with the EP and AP manager every week, at least once a week. You ask them about how the process is going. Are they facing any issues or any problems or any bottlenecks when it comes to getting their visa? You need to be fully aware about what is going on when it comes to their visa specifically, and you need to know exactly what are the things that they need from your side, so that you can actually provide that support that they need. And fifth step is the expectation setting webinar, and this is one very important step for you to actually make sure that all your EPs are on the same page concerning what they will be doing in the project and what they need to expect when coming to your CC and to India as a country. So this needs to happen at least 2 weeks prior to the realization date. Make sure that before the EP comes, like 2 weeks before the EP comes, you get on a call with them. You have your presentation about expectation setting and everything that they need to know about the country when it comes to the food, when it comes to the culture, transportation, the weather, how much money will they be spending. Like all of those information they need, the EP needs to know them because they need to be 100% prepared for their experience, and that also helps you inside the experience itself because they will be complaining less if you set the right expectations with them. And a lot of the things that usually shock people when they come to India will not be a shock to them. The next step is collecting the information for arrival pickup, and this you can do actually in the expectation setting webinar. So probably by that time they already booked their flight tickets and they know when they're going to be arriving to India. So you need to collect that information also, because one of the standards that you need to be delivering is you need to provide airport pickup. So you need to know when those EPs are going to be coming, and you need to know like the exact dates and the exact times that they're going to be when they're going to be reaching India. And you need to know which airport they're going to be landing in, what kind of transportation they're going to take from the airport to the wherever you're meeting them, like all of those things. So probably you can try to collect that in the expectation setting webinar. And the next step is collection personal goal setting from home entity and collection OPS output from home entity. So 1 week before the EP comes, you collect these two. Why? Because they're gonna help you a lot when it comes to doing your own IPS and driving your own conversations with the EPs. So you need to know what is that one thing that the EPs want to achieve through their experience. Yes, they want to make impact. Yes, they want to discover a new country, all of that. But they probably have that one personal goal that they want to achieve through the experience. And if you know it, then you can be able to support them more in achieving it. And then you need to collect the OPS output from the home entity. Why? Because when you're delivering your IPS to them, your IPS needs to be aligned to the OPS of the home entity, and your IPS needs to be complementing the OPS of the home entity. So you don't want to cover things that the home entity already covered, and you don't want to say things that contradict whatever the home entity said. So probably get the OPS output from the home entity so that you can actually be aligned in terms of IPS also. So the next stage is the experience, and that's when the EP actually comes. So at this moment, they are still approved. We cannot mark them as realized yet. The first thing that we need to be providing is the arrival pickup support, and that needs to happen at arrival, obviously. And then you need to be providing accommodation also, that needs to be provided at arrival. So during those two steps, the EP is still approved. The EP cannot be realized until they actually attend the incoming preparation, and that needs to happen within 2 days of their arrival. So maximum 2 days after the EP arrives, you need to deliver the incoming preparation, in which again you set expectations more deeply. You give them more details about the clients, more details about the project, everything that they need to know about how their experience is going to go in India. You show them testimonials and sharings from past EPs. Like all of those things, they need to happen in the incoming preparation. And probably in your LCs, you already have a framework for incoming preparation that you are following. So if you never saw that, please check with your team leader or your VP and ask them to show you the whole framework and the whole materials that you are using on the local level. And then the first day of work and expat status change. So this needs to happen within 5 days. So probably the first day of work cannot be the same day as arrival, obviously. It might not even be like the next day or then in the next 2 days, but within 5 days, they need to start working. So within the 5 first days in which they are in India, they need to have their first day of work. And obviously in the first day of work, someone from ISEC needs to accompany them to the NGO or school or like wherever they work in. And this needs to happen within 5 days. And then alignment space with opportunity provider. This needs to be provided in the first week of the experience itself. And you need to align with the client, with the client about how the space is gonna go and what are the things that you need from the client, or what are the things that you can actually both do from ISEC side and from the client side to make sure that this space is as fruitful as possible for the EP. Next step is EP engagement, and this needs to happen weekly. So like throughout the experience, you're gonna have LC meetings, you're gonna have LC events, all of those things that the EP can actually attend. And trust me, those things, they engage the EPs a lot and they make the experience much better and much smoother. So make sure that you are inviting EPs to any LC events that you have, to any LC meeting. And then one thing that you also need to be doing weekly is content collection and showcasing. So the one thing that people do wrong is the fact that they wait until the experience is over for them to actually start collecting content, like pictures and videos and testimonials from the EPs. But do that during the experience itself. Do that when the EPs are actually experiencing the product, because that's when they can actually provide you with as many contents as possible. So make sure that you have a content collection plan in which you know exactly what you are expecting from the EPs in terms of content. Like if, for example, I want pictures of them in the workplace, I want pictures of them when they're traveling. I want one video in which they're trying Indian food, for example. So you can have a lot of ideas. So probably have a content collection plan. So once the EP comes, you just start implementing that plan, and you align them also in terms of what are your expectations from them in terms of this. So the next step is supporting the EP in filling the standards survey. So this needs to happen in the 6th week. So it's the last week of the EP, probably 3 to 4 days before they actually leave. You have a meeting with the EP in which you explain to them how the standards were delivered to them, and you make sure that they are filling the standard survey right there and then. Some standards are not going to show to the EP at that point of time, so make sure that whatever standards are showing at that moment, they fill them as honestly as possible, and make sure that they understand every single standard and how it was delivered to them, because most of the time EPs have a lot of misconceptions, and they might say that a standard wasn't delivered just because they don't understand what the standard was about. And the last step when it comes to the experience stage is departure support. So you don't have to take the EP to the airport yourself. You just need to give them information about how to get to the airport, and facilitate their transportation and all. Not pay for it, not go with them. Probably a lot of you guys go with the EPs, which is a good thing also, but you don't have to. So right here, when it comes to this, you just need to provide support. And obviously, this needs to happen at departure. So when it comes to the post-experience stage, there are 3 steps that you need to be following. The first 2 steps, the EP is still finished. But by the third step, the EP needs to be completed. So the first step is follow up with the home entity about the brief. So there is one standard that the home entity delivers, and it needs to happen after the EP is back home, which is the brief, in which they sit with the OGV side of the experience, and they debrief about their experience, and they have a few questions about how their experience went and everything. And that's when they actually when they should be filling the standard survey. So this needs to happen within 2 weeks of the end of the experience. So probably you need to start aligning with the home entity about when is the brief happening. So you talk to the EP manager and you actually ask for dates of when the debrief is gonna happen for the EPs. and you make sure that you are also pushing the EP from your side to fill whatever questions are left in the standard survey to ensure that that EP is complete. And these two steps go hand in hand, and they need to happen within 2 weeks of the end of the experience. And the last step is content collection and testimonials. Again, like I said, this is something that needs to be happening weekly inside the experience itself, but probably the EP can have content that they haven't sent to you, or you missed out on a few EPs or something like that. So keep very good communication with the EPs and try to collect as many content from them as possible once they're done with the experience. And probably the completed EPs can actually get you a lot of content and satisfying content that you can actually start using for your promotions to make sure that you are getting more applicants for any other projects or for the same project that you are running in the future. So that was it for the standards operation procedures. I will now be taking questions. So thank you guys for attending first, and yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. I will make sure to answer them all.